On this video, I'm going to show you how I made this resin dish using iridescent film. I ordered the film off of Amazon. I'm sure you can find it in stores. I just got it a bit faster through Amazon. I also used some India inks with this. Turned out amazing. So here's the film that I used. It's used for like gift wrapping or flowers, that kind of stuff. So I cut out a circle of the film and I placed the plastic over the dish that I'm using to form my resin. So the colors I used are India inks, the blue, the violet, yellow, and magenta. I'm adding some glitter to all of the colors, just a small amount. Just wanted to add a little bit of a bling to it. And I also added it to the clear resin. The resin here kind of looks like it's full of bubbles, but trust me, it isn't. It's the glitter that I added. So I'm just going to spread the resin on the clear resin onto the bottom part of my dish. And this is going just on top of the plastic sheet that I have down. And I'm just spreading it out to the edges. I want to be able to get the film put down and have the resin going all the way to the edges. The one thing I would change for my next one is to coat the piece of film with the resin itself before placing it onto the wet resin that you see me adding here. I ended up having quite a few bubbles under the film when I placed it on. And I know that if you do a resin on resin, there's a good chance you're going to have way less bubbles underneath the film. So it was this is a test piece, so it was a bit of a learning curve. I should have known better with the jewelry making that I do. I never put something like that over wet resin because of bubbles forming underneath. So here I am still spreading it out, getting as close to the edge as possible because I wanted the film to also go right to the edge so that when I took the cure piece off of my mold that I'm using for shaping, I didn't want it to either have a gap around the edges where the film stops and the resin goes on, it continues, and I didn't want the film to go over the edges of the resin and then in turn give me more work to do with cutting the extra pieces of film sticking outside of the resin around the edges. So this was a little bit time consuming. I probably could have used a little bit more resin. I'm trying to get the best that I can of what I have poured down already. And again, this isn't bubbles that you're seeing. It's a lot of glitter. So just zapping it with a little bit of heat for what bubbles may be there. And now I'm going to put the film down that I had cut out into a circle. And I tried to lay it down one side at a time. I was hoping that would help a little bit with the bubbles, but yeah, there was no way I was going to get around having the bubbles at this point. Again, I should have just coated the piece that I'm laying down with the resin. So like I said, it would be wet resin onto wet resin. So you can see actually the bubbles that are underneath the film, and I'm trying to push them out. I ended up using my hand to get them out, which actually worked a little bit better than using this wooden stick to push it. And I was getting a little bit worried that it was going to cure with these massive bubbles and form like open pockets, basically holes in the resin. And luckily that didn't happen, but you can still see a few little tiny bubbles that are in the cured piece. But again, that was my test piece. I'll keep for myself, and the next one I'll know better. So here I am still trying to push these bubbles out to the edges. And I cut out a lot of this part of it because I did have to work it quite a bit to move these bubbles out. So now I'm going to be adding the colors down, and again, these colors are the Bombay India Inks. I want it for the coloring to be as clear, kind of open, so that you could see the iridescent shining through a little bit better than if I was using a pigment paste. These India inks work a lot better for the effect that I wanted. So here I am thinking, yep, I should have made a little bit more resin. So I'm trying to scrape out every little last drop out of each cup. So that was the blue. And now I'm going down with the violet, I believe. Yes, it is. It's the violet. And once again, I was using Artworks Resin. I absolutely love this resin. I like that it cures really fast. So when I'm making these dishes, I'm basically just waiting approximately 3.5 hours, and then I'm able to remove it and place it over the mold. So 3.5 hours is a lot better than having to wait, say, 6 hours with some of the other resins. And now I'm going down with the yellow, and the yellow I just went around the edges. I didn't want this piece to turn green. I didn't want the yellow mixing in so much. A little bit of green I was fine with, but I didn't want the green to take over. So the yellow I decided just to place around the edges. Again, scraping out every drop. And I see a few more bubbles that I'm still trying to move out to the edges. And the next color I'm going to be putting down is the magenta. These colors worked really well together. And you always have an idea in your head of what you're going to try to achieve. This one I just kind of winged it, I guess you could say. It was a test piece. And it turned out pretty nice, actually, for not really having My sound started acting up. Sorry about that. So here I am hitting it again with a little bit of heat, trying to pop a few more bubbles. And now I'm going to add some of the crushed glass that I have. I only had this one color, and I find it it is not that bad when it is another source of color is put on top of it or with it. It's almost like it just soaks in the new color and it takes over. So I really lucked out with only having this one color and having it blend very well with the colors of the India ink that I used. And here is the glass that I'm adding to the edges, and you can see the color. I wasn't too worried at this point with what color I was using, again, with it being a test piece, and it ended up blending quite well. And I do use a lot of this with all the dishes and sculptures that I've done. I do use a lot of this glass. And I didn't have enough resin to go over the glass itself, which is what I usually do just to make sure it's all covered. This stuff soaked down quite good into what resin I had down. So I didn't have, really any pieces falling off or breaking away. So here it is. This is very close to the 3-hour mark. And about a half hour after this is when I mold it. And this is the dish that I'm using as a mold. And now I am going to be taking the plastic off. And I'm really happy with the plastic I used this time compared to last time where I had it stuck. It was really hard to get off, and this plastic just popped right off. I was really happy about this. No struggle at all to get this off. And of course it had a little bit of the edge where the resin kind of goes down a little bit, um, and it's clear and it's quite thin, and those pieces I usually just snap off. I use my fingers and they come off very easy. I have a glove on because I just don't want to take the chance of any thumb or fingerprints, even though the resin is pretty hard at this point. This is the next morning, and there's some of the excess that I just pull off. Turned out really nice. I'm really happy that I experimented using this film. Like I said, I'm definitely going to go much bigger for my next one, and be able to place the film down now that I have an idea what just might work a little bit better to avoid the bubbles. I hope you enjoyed this video and it helps you out. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting many more in the future. Thank you guys for watching. Take care, and I'll see you soon.